Hello, everyone. This is Crypto BitLaw back with a blockchain legal news update for you guys where we cover developments in policy and regulation and the laws relates to the blockchain and the digital asset space. And today it's Monday, January 24th, 2022. And the big headlines today are, so we can see the Biden administration intends to release an executive order on crypto as early as February. The Bank of Korea says the first phase of its CBDC test has been completed successfully, and that is a central bank digital currency or a government issued stablecoin. CBDCs are. Binance did not upgrade customer checks, KYC, AML, all that sort of thing, despite promises to regulators, and Russian tech and political executives denounce crypto ban proposal. And this is a follow-up. The Russian story is a follow-up to a story that we posted last week where the Central Bank of Russia issued a proposal to ban cryptocurrency exchanges and trades in addition to crypto mining. So let's dive in and unpack all of these stories. But before we continue on, as always, if you like this content, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and you can follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @CryptoBitLaw. So first up on the docket, we could see the White House is set to put itself at the center of U.S. crypto policy. The Biden administration said to aim for February executive order, and this directive would call for reports from various federal agencies. And Bloomberg reported this story over the weekend. So digging into it, it states, the Biden administration is preparing to release an initial government-wide strategy for digital assets as soon as next month and task federal agencies with assessing the risks and opportunities that they pose. Senior administration officials have held multiple meetings on the plan, which is being drafted as an executive order. And the directive, which would be presented to President Joe Biden in the coming weeks, puts the White House at the center of Washington's efforts to deal with cryptocurrencies. It further notes that federal agencies have taken a scattershot approach to digital assets over the past several years, and Biden's team is facing pressure to lead on the issue. Industry executives often bemoan what they say is a lack of clarity on U.S. rules, and others worry that an embrace by China and other nations of government-backed coins, or CBDCs, could threaten the dollar's dominance. It continues, the late-stage draft of the executive order details economic, regulatory, and national security challenges posed by cryptocurrencies, and it would call for reports from various agencies due in the second half of 2022. One such study would come from the Financial Stability Oversight Council, a group that includes the heads of Washington's top financial watchdogs, looking at the possible systemic impacts of digital assets. Another government report would look at illicit uses of the virtual coins. Meanwhile, the directive would also require other agencies to weigh in, carving out roles for everyone from the State Department to the Commerce Department, and some of those tasks will be meant to ensure that the U.S. remains competitive as the world increasingly adopts digital assets. It further states the administration is also expected to weigh in on the possibility of the U.S. issuing a government-backed coin, known as a central bank digital currency, or CBDC. The administration is likely to hold off on taking a firm position as the Federal Reserve is still considering the issue. On Thursday, the Fed released a preliminary paper on the matter and opened a public comment period through May 20th. And the Fed said that it does not intend to move forward on the CBD issue without the support of the White House and Congress. So what we can see here is a furtherance of this general trend towards regulation on cryptos in the United States. We've said that this is coming. This is a furtherance of the consolidation and the stratification of these crypto-based regulations that we all knew were destined to come. And this report that the administration is going to somehow try to centralize and unify all of these different agencies under one umbrella in order to get a comprehensive and cohesive crypto digital asset strategy isn't really a big surprise. So I think that this is interesting. I'd like to see when this report comes out. We'll certainly touch on that and report back to you what it contains and the details therein. So next up on the docket, we could see that CoinDesk reported earlier this morning that the Bank of Korea says its first phase of its CBDC test was completed successfully. South Korea's central bank said that it's currently carrying out the second phase of the test without any setbacks. They say the Bank of Korea wrapped up the first phase of a central bank digital currency CBDC simulation project in December 2021. The first phase tested the basic functions of a CBDC, including manufacturing, issuing, and distribution in a simulation environment. It concluded that the CBDC works normally under test conditions. Based on the results of the first phase, the report said the South Korean central bank plans to explore implementing other functions such as offline payments and adding personal information protection enhancement technology. In a separate statement, the bank said more experiments are needed to confirm if the CBDC would work as effectively in a real environment. After a second phase is completed this June, the bank plans to conduct a comprehensive evaluation of the project and continue usability experiments in cooperation with financial institutions. The Bank of Korea chose GroundX in July of 2021, a blockchain subsidiary of South Korean tech giant Kakao, to build the CBD pilot platform. And just to do a little digging into this GroundX, we could see CoinDesk also reported that GroundX launched its own blockchain called Clayton in 2018, on which it stores and verifies unlisted investments such as non-fungible tokens. And that was as of February of the past year, 2021. So I think that this is interesting. This is just a continuation of this general trend that we see from a lot of these major sovereigns and nations regarding implementing and utilizing some form of central bank digital currency, which is a stable coin that is pegged to an underlying asset, traditionally that nation's fiat currency, whether it be the dollar, the yuan, I'm sure we might get a digital peso, something like that. But there's a continuation of this trend of these nations and their federal banks, or their central banks rather, striving to create this technology that would enable them to leverage and utilize central bank digital currencies. Next up, we could see that CoinDesk reported, based on a Reuters investigation, that Binance didn't upgrade customer checks despite promises to regulators. It further states, a Reuters investigation found Binance has not been as keen on regulation as it has publicly professed to be. So this is a continuation of Binance's kind of shady dealings and operations, in particularly as it pertains to KYC, Know Your Customer, and AML, anti-money laundering policies. So they say the world's largest crypto exchange kept weak Know Your Customer KYC checks and did not properly cooperate with authorities despite its public promises about compliance, Reuters said in an investigative report published Friday. And if you want to see more about this report, we have it over here. It's linked down below. It's nice. It's very informative. It details the growth and popularity of Binance over time, and just does a really good deep dive into a lot of what kind of makes Binance tick. So this report's going to be linked down below in the description, in addition to all of the other articles if you want to check them out. But continuing on, they say, according to the report, Binance has refused to answer regulators and partners' questions about its operations. It turned down German police requests to help track down fraudsters and terrorists, and ignored its own compliance advisors' recommendations to avoid customers in countries with money laundering risk, all while publicly claiming to welcome regulation. Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao, also known as CZ, he also ignored staff when they voiced concerns about weak Know Your Customer requirements, the report said. The crypto exchange has received multiple warnings about its operations from regulators around the world about its activity, including Singapore, Japan, the Cayman Islands, and the UK, while avoiding setting up a global headquarters. Now, if you want to learn more about that, how they pretty much hop around from jurisdiction to jurisdiction in order to avoid falling under the jurisdiction of any particular country, we reported on that in our video that detailed and did an analysis of the Hex crypto class action, wherein an individual plaintiff sued Binance and their subsidiary CoinMarketCap based on fraudulent manipulative practices. But one of the main issues in that case is that since Binance has no bona fide headquarters or residents, it's really difficult to actually get jurisdiction over them. In particular, CZ, Jinping Zhao. This guy just kind of hops around from place to place, and it's really hard for the plaintiff in that case, the Hex one, to actually track him down and serve him. And so I know recently he went as far as to try to serve CZ on Twitter because CZ is verified on Twitter, but the court denied that request, citing that because they don't know definitively what nation CZ is a citizen of, they can't apply American law to him because we have these conventions like the Hague Convention that allows for service on individuals of certain residents of foreign countries, and because we don't know if he is a resident of a country that is a signatory to that convention, then the court refused to allow him to be served via these alternative means. But that's a whole separate little anecdote. I guess we'll just continue on and finish out this story. According to Reuters, in 2020, Binance acted against its own money laundering risk alerts for at least 7 countries. Specifically, the ratings for Russia and Ukraine were, quote, manually downgraded from extreme to high, such that the exchange could continue offering services there. All right. Apart from the sector-wide crackdown in China in 2017, the exchange has twice fled markets once its relationship with regulators turned sour. This occurred after Japan called Binance out for offering services without being licensed, and another time when Binance realized being licensed in Malta to set up global headquarters involved more than just a rubber stamp. A Binance spokesperson said in a statement to Reuters, in part, that the exchange is, quote, investing in the future technologies and legislation that will set the crypto industry on the road to becoming a well-regulated, secure industry. So more lip service from Binance. Just a continuation of this pattern to try to hop around from jurisdiction to jurisdiction and skirt laws and regulation, all while trying to service themselves and bolster their market share and operate pretty much worldwide without really following or complying or really giving too much care to the particular laws and regulations in any given one jurisdiction. So I thought that was interesting. If you want to learn more about this, as I mentioned before, check out that video that does a detailed overview of the Hex class action lawsuit. And lastly, we could see that Cointelegraph reported earlier today that Russian tech and political executives denounce the crypto ban proposal that was proposed by the Russian central bank last week. And if you want to learn more about that, we covered that story in a video on our site. Go check it out. It's going to be linked down in the description below. They say Telegram CEO Pavel Durov wrote that the proposed ban on crypto would, quote, destroy a number of sectors of the high-tech economy in a recent post on his messaging platform. Russia's recent ban on crypto has drawn criticism from a large number of big names, including Alexei Navalny's chief of staff, Leonid Volkov, and Telegram founder Pavel Durov. On Thursday, Russian central bank published a report proposing a blanket ban on domestic crypto trading and mining. The report stated that the risks of crypto are, quote, much higher for emerging markets, including Russia. And as we noted in our story covering this issue, the buried lead in that situation is that the central bank is in the process of developing its own CBDC, or central bank digital currency. And this is a continuation of what we noticed in the earlier story with the South Korean government entering a second phase of testing out its own CBDC. So this is just another continuation of that trend. They further say that Volkov referenced a Thursday report by Bloomberg that claimed that the Russia's Federal Securities Service, FSB, was instrumental in advancing the ban because crypto can be used to finance, quote, non-systemic opposition and extremist organizations. So it's all about controlling the money. You control all of the other geopolitical aspects that money would otherwise have an influence on. It continues. He went on to add that he was, quote, sure that the Bloomberg version in this case is 100% close to reality, but nothing will happen because Russians are more likely to use crypto to buy drugs rather than donate it to the Moscow-based nonprofit FBK. It states, quote, technically, banning cryptocurrency is the same as banning person-to-person transfers. In other words, it's impossible. Yes, they can make it very difficult to deposit funds on crypto exchanges, so that's a fiat on-ramp, which means that intermediary services will simply appear that will do this through foreign jurisdictions. So as a result, you're going to have services that are going to perform that fiat on-ramp, but it's just going to do it through another jurisdiction. He continues that, yes, transaction costs will rise. Well, that's all, I guess. Many of Russia's neighbors have also taken a hardline stance on crypto. On Wednesday, citizens in neighboring country Georgia were made to swear an oath to cease mining crypto. The governments of Kosovo and Kazakhstan have also recently been added to the list of countries that have banned crypto mining. Perhaps one exception is the Russian neighbor Ukraine, which passed a number of laws to facilitate the country's adoption of cryptocurrencies in September 2021. And so I think that this is an interesting play on what's currently shaping up in that region and the tensions between Ukraine and Russia as Russia continues to amass troops on the border of Ukraine, pretty much surrounding it on three sides. Just based on my opinion and what I observe, it seems that Ukraine is more progressive in this area, more likely to embrace crypto and digital assets as opposed to what we've seen from Russia, which is this continuation on a trend to crack down and suppress these new emerging technologies. So it's almost kind of like a resurgence of the old Cold War style ethos, where you have this proxy conflict taking place between the traditional Western world and what used to be the Eastern Bloc, playing out on a global stage in the form of this Ukrainian tension between Ukraine and Russia. And we can see the parallels extend themselves even into digital assets. So all in all, I thought those stories were pretty interesting. I hope you enjoyed this content and learned something valuable from it. We really enjoyed making it for you. Please, again, I'd like to remind you to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel. You can follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @CryptoBitLaw. And with that said, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.